Good morning, distinguished President, Vice President for Academic Partnership, Asia from Taylor and Francis, faculty members, researchers, and honored guests, and a warm welcome to all participants joining us online today. Welcome to the official opening of Advancing the Future of Research Publishing, Read and Publish, Open Access and AI with Taylor and Francis. It is a great pleasure for Prince of Songkhla University to host today's event, which marks an important milestone in our international research partnership. To begin our program, we are honored to welcome our distinguished guest from Taylor and Francis, Ms. Lee Pui Lee, Commercial Director, Taylor and Francis, who will deliver a presentation on university research and the Taylor and Francis Read and Publish Agreement. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Lee Pui Lee.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. President and Professor Opa for having me here back in PSU. Very happy to be here. And let me first just introduce myself. My name is Lee Pui, and I'm the Commercial Director for Taylor and Francis. Here today, this morning, I'm going to share with you a global perspective of Taylor and Francis Read and Publish Agreement. Sorry, can I have the slides? Good, thank you. Get the first slide, please. Thank you. I hope everyone can hear me. I mean, in this room and also those that are in all the different campuses of PSU as well. Great. So first, let me just share a little bit about Taylor and Francis. We have 6 trusted brands with Taylor and Francis as our hybrid and open journal access titles. We have Routledge, which is one of our most popular home brand of our humanities and social sciences, followed by CRC Press in cutting-edge science, particularly in engineering. We have PJ for open research, open access research, and also F1000 and Dove Press, mainly for the medical research journals. And talking about open access, it might seem like the new and trendy thing in 2020, but actually it started more than 20 years ago. And we embarked, Taylor and Francis, in this journey starting from 2006. And we started off with the hybrid journals of 175 STM journals. And this journey has bring us to today in 2026 with POJ joining us in 2024. There are more routes to open access than any other publishers that Taylor and Francis provide. And we want to be the leading open access book publisher. Our open access agreement have reached more than 80 partnerships since in 2026 this year. And we're actually very happy this year to add PSU. And you can see the logo that's over there with PSU added on into the many institutions that we serve. And we have more than 1,000 institutions over the past few years. And just to share a little bit more about our Taylor and Francis commitment in publication on the different partnership of advanced science information as compared to our peers. Now you see that in the first column on the extreme right, is that on the left actually, Taylor and Francis, we actually have almost in terms of the breadth of the different areas of range of information, starting from humanities, arts and science, social sciences, and also medicine and health. So we are actually very much equipped in every different areas that we actually publish as compared to the other publishers, which may be more towards medicine or actually towards science and technology. And what's the impact of open research agreements? Now, with open research agreements, we have done quite a bit of analysis on partnerships that I mentioned earlier on with the more than 1,000 over institutions that we work with. What we find out is that actually from the percentage of the output of the OA has actually grew from 7% to 77%. And that's over a very short span of actually less than 10 years. And over the years, the citation of the articles has also grown by 36%. And not to forget, it is also important to look into the mentions in a global policy where the documents are affected. And it has grown more than 115% as well in terms of new articles mentioned in a year. And it is important as well for us to stress on ethics and integrity. As a trusted and reputed publisher, Taylor and Francis investigate into thousands of cases where there are actually misconduct. And actually with paper mails, it is actually brought to many of our attention as well, where publication in terms of ethics and integrity and is important, and we as Taylor and Francis stand by that. And just to share a little bit of the research excellence in ASEAN and where the rest of the other top 5 ASEAN countries. And it's pleasure to share with you. Indonesia taking the lead right on the big orange curve right in front. And they started off this journey actually 10 years ago as well. Now, the rest of us, the countries, including Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam, we're actually all growing up as well, but with, of course, taking a slightly slower pace. The question is, what will be Thailand's research output in the next 10 years? And our partnership here with PSU is the beginning of where our collaboration towards the growth of output for Thailand would actually process. And back here in Thailand, just to share with you what are the top 5 universities that actually publishes with Taylor and Francis. Share with you here, in terms of the researchers, we have University A, University B, Prince of Songkla, and then followed by University C and University D. Probably some of you would have guessed already who are the University A and University B, right? I don't think it's a secret, but I think it is important here to share where Prince of Songkla stands. And I'm very proud and very happy to have this collaboration to actually further and accelerate the publication growth of Prince of Songkla with Taylor and Francis. And we do hope and we'll see, I'm pretty sure that we will exceed University A and B with our collaboration going forward. And in terms of Taylor and Francis research paper submission from Prince of Songkla, I've actually looked into the analysis of the last 5 years. And you can actually see a very good growth over the last 5 years itself. And in particular, from 2024 to 2025, there's as much as almost 25% of increase of paper submission into Taylor and Francis. And quite a number of it, and also the growing importance as well in open access. And looking into the top 10 areas, so where do the submission papers come from? Now, we actually have Phuket campus actually that started off with hospitality, tourism, and leisure. And a large number of the submission actually papers are coming from there. But not to forget, we also get a lot of engineering, medicine, business, and also education publication submission from Prince of Songkla. How about acceptance? Now, in terms of acceptance, we actually also show a good growing growth from Prince of Songkla. And I remember last year when I was here on campus talking to Professor Opa, and we were really amazed, even within a very short few months, the number of papers have almost doubled in terms of publication and acceptance with Taylor and Francis. And this is a really very good growth in from 24 to 25, 7%. And I'm pretty sure that with our collaboration, we will also accelerate the number of publication acceptance paper in Taylor and Francis from Prince of Songkla. And these are the top publication area of papers that are accepted in Taylor and Francis. Now you see actually there's actually quite a little bit of a difference where biological earth science, medicine, and chemistry and engineering become the top papers that are actually accepted in our publication. In terms of impact quartile, now I think it's very key, and later on my colleague, Ms. Katie Pierce, will be actually talking a little bit more about publishing in Q1. And I think it's important here where we look at the quartile over the last 5 years where Prince of Songkla is publishing. We have quite a lot already in Q1. However, there are actually quite a huge number in Q2 and Q3. And we do hope, working with you and collaboration, that we're able to encourage the faculty members to publish more in Q1 papers together in Taylor and Francis. And we have more than 1,000 journals that are actually in Q1 quartile as well. Okay, last but not least, I want to share that this is a journey together with PSU, the researchers, together with the library as well, to actually create awareness and discovery from the beginning of your research life cycle all the way to creating impact And training and engagement is always key and important to us. And we look forward to collaborating and working together with you to actually get more papers published from Prince of Songkran. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lee Pui, for that insightful and inspiring presentation. Now, I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Opat Kausayapon,
น้ำมันเป็นเด็ก
Director
นี่
of
นี่
the
หว่า
Kunik Atthakarawi Sunthorn Learning Resources Center, to deliver his report on
น้ำมันจบ
Taylor
BBA
and
มาไหมอ่ะ
Francis
หลักสูตร
Read and Publish Description for the research of Prince of Songkla
ปิด
University. Please welcome Associate Professor Dr. Opat Kausayapon.
Thank you so much, distinguished President of Prince of Songkla University, Vice President for Academic Partnerships, Taylor, Asia from Taylor and Francis, and distinguished guests. On behalf of the Kunyinglong Atthakarawi Sunthorn Learning Resources Center, I am pleased to report that the subscription to Taylor and Francis under the Read and Publish Agreement represent a significant milestone for Prince of Songkla University in strengthening to scholarly information infrastructure and research publishing system in alignment with international standards. Taylor and Francis is one of the world's leading academic publishers, offering high-quality journals across key disciplines of our university, including social science, humanities, health science, engineering, and fields that contribute directly to national and global development. The Read and Publish Agreement provides for more than access to scholarly literature is also enable our researchers to publish their work in Taylor and Francis journals without the burden of individual publication fees, thereby reducing barrier to publication and enhancing the international visibility of Thai research. The decision to enter into this agreement is the result of a careful and collaborative assessment by the Kunyinglong Atthakarawi Learning Resources Center and the Research and Development Office Center, taking into account the university research directions, publication output, and its potential for international engagement and impact. I am confident that Taylor and Francis will serve not only as a virtual source of scholarly knowledge, but also as a bridge connecting the research of Prince of Songkla University to the global academic community. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Opat, for your report. And next, I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Mathanachai Suthipan, Deputy Director for Humanities and Social Science Research and Development Office, to deliver his remarks on university research and the Read and Publish Agreement between Taylor and Francis and Prince of Songkla University. Please welcome Associate Professor Dr. Mathanachai Suthipan.
Good day, everybody. Wow, we come this far. Yeah, they're from the last year. So sorry. Yeah. So, sorry. So I have to be formal. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Distinguished the president of Prince of Songkla University of PSU, the vice president from the academic partnerships, Asian, the Taylor Francis. There normally people here, there's all TF. Yeah. And then the commercial director of TF, the director of the PSU library. And then the organizers of this event, one of the main missions of RDO, we call Research and Development Office in PSU as a RDO, is to drive not just only the publisher, not just only the researcher, to go to abroad. That's why we have to consider not just really the number of application and also, but also that quality of publication, that citation as sustainability as well. Then you can see that in today's world, there's so many publishers that not that sustainability, but we believe that what we talk to Mrs. Lee last year is we can sustain together. To have the agreement of the read and the public with the Taylor Francis, I strongly believe that this is one of that super important plan or strategic to help the PSU researcher having the high publication quality into the journal from that top publisher in the world. I mean that. Using that the Scopus.com to show. Therefore, I wish that this collaboration between PSU and the Taylor Francis will improve PSU researcher competency as well as the quality of the research publication internationally. So good day, everyone, and thank you to have PSU here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Associate Professor Dr. Mathanachai, for your valuable remarks. Now, it is my great honor to invite Assistant Professor Dr. Niwat Kaew-Pradap, President of Prince of Songkhla University, to deliver the opening remarks and officially open the event. Please welcome the President of Prince of Songkhla University.
Distinguished Vice President for Academic Partnerships Asia, Ms. Kathy Peace, and colleagues from Taylor and Francis, Director of Learning Resource Center, Deputy Director of Research and Development Office, and colleagues from Prince of Songkhla University. Good morning and welcome to Prince of Songkhla University. As you may know, that Prince of Songkhla University is the first university in the south of Thailand. We are a public university founded in 1967, almost 60 years now. With 5 campuses, cover the whole range of southern part of Thailand, from the very deep south Pattani campus and Hat Yai campus, Trang campus, Surat Thani campus, and Phuket campus. We have about 36,000 students all together, 5 campuses. Of course, at a regional university, we established almost the same time with Chiang Mai University, Khon Kaen University, and also Prince of Songkhla University. We firmly committed to becoming a research university that makes a meaningful contribution to both society and the global academic community. The subscription to Taylor and Francis under the Read and Publish Agreement is not merely an expansion of information resources. It is an investment in our research ecosystem, one that supports the entire research cycle from access to scholarly knowledge to the global dissemination of our researchers' work. Today's event represents a significant collaboration between PSU, Prince of Songkhla University, especially responsible by the Kun Yinglong Athakwisunthorn Learning Resources Center, Professor Opat as the director, also the Research and Development Office, and also Taylor, of course, Taylor and Francis, as we work together to build a future of research that is open, transparent, and internationally connected. I sincerely hope that this event will enable our researchers to fully understand and make effective use of this agreement, leading to research outputs that create value for both the university and society at large. Thank you once again especially for team from Thailand and Francis and our team from Prince of Songkla, usually for this very promising event that we work together. Now it's time. Please join me to officially declare the opening of the event, Advancing the Future of Research Publishing, Read and Publish Open Access and AI with Taylor Francis. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the President, for officially opening the event. At this moment, we would like to proceed with the presentation of souvenirs. May I kindly invite Assistant Professor Dr. Niwat Kaew-Pradap, President of Prince of Songkla University, to the stage. May I also invite Ms. Katie Pierce from Taylor and Francis to please join us on the stage. We will now proceed with the souvenir presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, now we will proceed to the presentation sessions. Our next speaker is Ms. Katie Pierce, Vice President, Academic Partnerships, Asia, Taylor and Francis, who will deliver a presentation on publishing open access in Q1 journals and avoiding AI pitfalls. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Katie Pierce.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody, for welcoming us. And I feel so privileged to be here in Southern Thailand for the first time and to be able to present to the President of Prince of Songkla University, as well as our fantastic colleagues and distinguished guests, and everyone online as well. I am originally British, as you may tell by my appearance and my accent, but I've lived in Singapore for nearly 15 years. And my job with Taylor and Francis, as the Vice President of Academic Partnerships, is to be the editorial and content partner to our partners in the region. So I work with the universities all across Southeast Asia. And where we have a read and publish agreement where we're working with you as a partner, it's my job to support you in your goal, which becomes our goal, to try and increase the number of high quality journal publications with you. So my presentation today, I'm going to try and take around 40 minutes or so. And my aim at the end of my 40 minutes is that I've answered all your questions about publishing open access, particularly in Q1 journals, and avoiding AI pitfalls. But if I haven't, please ask questions. I don't want you to leave this session with unanswered questions. So please be interactive. You can interrupt if you would like to during the presentation. If you're in the room, you can put your hand up. If you're online, you can put your hand up online, and we can, hopefully somebody can help to let me know if there's a question online. But it's really important to me that you get all the answers to any questions that you have that may be stopping you from moving forward in your publication journey. As President Niwat said, you are a top university and you're trying to increase that research output to really position yourselves as a world-class research university. Li Pui gave some fantastic explanation about how much we've already moved forward with you. And only by ensuring that you have unlocked all the possibilities can we produce excellence together. So that's my plan today. Next slide, please. So I'm going to go through open access options, a little bit to explain what open access is, because I think that still becomes a little bit confusing for people. How to choose the right journal for your article, a little bit about the peer review and publishing process, some tips to avoid AI problems, and then a little bit about how to maximize the research impact and visibility of your publication. So that's the plan. Okay, next slide, please. And again. Fantastic. So starting with open access article publishing, open access really just means that when you publish your article, it will be available free for anyone to read. So anyone with an internet access and a computer can access your article anywhere in the world. And that's a really exciting prospect for people because it means that your research that you've produced here that's been funded is then available to anyone wherever they are, anywhere in the world, freely available. It can be reused and shared widely, and this can have broader education society impacts, particularly if your content is interesting outside of the research community as well to practitioners. So, for example, doctors or engineers or teachers could access this content because they're not having to find it within a university setting. It can be shared online as well. So we're finding that open access is about making knowledge a public resource, a public good. And it's something, as Lee Pui mentioned, that Taylor and Francis feels very passionately about. We feel very strongly that we want to make your content and our content as accessible and available as possible. Okay, next slide, please. Because it's available to anybody, it really does offer a lot more visibility for your research. You may find that it can be hard to have access to researchers from other parts of the world, but with open access content, you can avoid any barriers for them reading your content. You can be really transparent about what you're doing and you can create greater impact. Articles published open access with Taylor and Francis typically receive around 32% more citations and over 6 times as many downloads. That's a lot. I think part of that is that people like something free. So it's a lot easier to just send somebody something and say, read my article, it's free, than read my article if you can log into the university and, you know, if your university has access. Taylor and Francis is trying to make sure everybody has access through our subscriptions, but this makes sure that everybody can access. Okay, next slide, please. So when we talk about gold open access, there are lots of different types of open access, and you may have heard platinum or diamond open access, lots of different types of open access. Gold open access means that the article has been funded to be open access. So often that payment is made by the author or the funder, or in this case with your university, then the library is organised for an open access fund for researchers to be able to publish open access. And the choices around open access are to publish in a fully open access journal where all the articles are published open access, or which is more common, an open select or hybrid open access journal. So Taylor and Francis publishes around 2,700 journals. Only about 300 of those are fully open access. All of the others, pretty much, are hybrid open access. So you can choose to make your article open access, but it's not necessary. So with those journals, there is the option to have open access if your university has that option available to you, which you're very lucky that that is possible. But if you don't have open access funding, you can still publish in one of those 2,400 journals. All you need to do is pass the peer review process and we will publish the article. What happens if it's not open access is that only those universities that have access to that journal will be able to read your content. It doesn't mean you can't publish with us if you don't have the open access funding for that. But if you want to have that open access option, publishing in an open access journal is helpful. I hope that's clear. Does anybody have any questions about open access and what it is before I move on?
Just would like to ask you actually that what we love to work with the Taylor Francis is when you look like a classify the first world, second world, and the third world page chart. That is just good. So we still think that the Taylor Francis is going to maybe that decrease the price for us again. Yeah, as a second world, yeah, class, super good. Yeah, so we got the 50%, right? Yeah, so in the future, it's gonna be 30%, gonna be even better. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that. You actually get the best of all worlds because we are giving you the pricing of a country that's moving up, but we're treating your research as the top class, world class quality that it is. So it's the best of all worlds, I think. A great partnership. Okay, next slide, please. So now I'm going to talk about how to choose the right journal. And I think this is really important, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this because you may want to have your article in the absolute top journal in your field, but sometimes that's not the right thing for your journal article, maybe because the research that you've produced isn't quite right for that journal. It may be because you're a very new researcher and you're not quite ready, or it may be because the research is just not focused on the right area, or it's not part of the same research. So we'll talk about how to find the right journal for you. Next slide, please. So the first thing I want to say is, when should you choose a journal? Now, this is quite controversial because many senior academics will write their paper and they already know which journal they'd be interested in. But if you're someone who's quite new to academic publishing, it's a lot better, in our opinion, as a publisher, to pick the journal before you've fully finished writing the paper. And the reason is because you should tailor the paper to the journal that you're aspiring to publish in. Like a job application, you generally try to tailor the job application and the CV to the right type of company. But the same with journal publishing, because if you don't know which journal you're looking at, how do you know how to write for that audience? How do you know what they're interested in? How do you know how long the paper should be? You know, in STEM subjects, often the papers are quite short, 4,000 to 5,000 words. But in social sciences, some of those papers might be more like 6,000 to 8,000 words. So you do need to be thinking about where exactly you're pitching your particular article. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in a second. Next slide, please. So one of the easiest ways to find a journal, particularly with Taylor and Francis, is to think about the journals that you already read and reference in your own research. So which journals are you liking? Which journals are interesting to you? Don't go for journals where you've never read a paper from that journal. You're not interested in that research, but maybe somebody says, oh, that's a great journal. But if you're not finding it speaks to you as a researcher and it doesn't give you value, it's not the right journal for you. When you're publishing in a journal, you want to become part of that journal community. Maybe you will in the future become a reviewer, or maybe an editorial board member. You want to become part of that journal community. So think about the journals that you read. Think about the journals where you're referencing citations from that journal. Talk to your senior profs. Which journals do they recommend that you start to read if you aren't really familiar with the journals in your field? And really think about, those are going to be the quality journals. They're going to be the right fit for you. They're going to be helpful and interested in the content that you can add. Think about the article you're publishing as entering the conversation with your community of researchers. It would be strange if you entered a conversation with somebody and just said something that was not relevant at all to what they're talking about. You want to be relevant. Can you just go back one slide, please? Thank you. So with Taylor and Francis, we have something fantastic called the Journal Selector tool, which is an AI-powered tool which will help you find, amongst our 2,700 journals, hopefully the right journal for you. So we can circulate these slides as PDFs later so you can see that, but this QR code will take you straight to the Journal Selector tool. And all you need to do is include some keywords from your article or the abstract for your paper and the title. And it will quickly give you 8 or 10 suggestions of the journals that we publish that we think will be the right fit for your journal, for your article. So if you're not sure, that's a great shortcut AI tool that will give you some suggestions of a short list of journals to look for. Okay, next slide, please. The other thing you can think about is to look at, if you're looking particularly at open access journals, is look at the database of open access journals, or Scopus itself. If you're looking at Q1 Scopus index journals particularly, you can have a look at those Scopus website. They give you lots of examples. You can do a keyword search. We are aware there are other journals outside of Taylor and Francis, but I think we have plenty for you to choose from. As Lee Pui said, we have over 1,000 Q1 Scopus journals, but okay, excellent, thank you. And then also Clarivate Web of Science, if you're interested in the impact factor, particularly, you can look at that as well. So those are some suggestions of where to find quality journals in open access. Once you have your short list of journal ideas, carefully get to know those journals and read the journal information. Each journal has an aims and scopes, which is not just text. The point of the aims and scopes is to tell you, what does that journal want to be publishing? What are they interested in? It's really important that you have a look at that to see whether your research area fits with that. Some of them will give you information about geographical interests. So some will say, we're really interested in articles about Asia. So if you're writing something which is quite specific to Thailand, it would be sensible to look for journals that are actively interested in Asian content. Many journals have a very US-centric approach, or even very European approach. They can be harder to publish in for a Southeast Asia article. We are trying, in my team, we're trying very hard to push back against that and ensure we have more Thai editorial board members and more visibility for Thai research. But the reality at the moment is you're much more likely to get published in something where they're already looking at Asian content, they're interested in Asian content. It's not to say it's impossible otherwise, but that's a tip. And they will also, next slide, please. Oh, sorry, before I move on. So this is just an example. We have so many journals, but I know the marketing team has pulled a few suggested journals for you based on your areas of research, so that you can see what some of the journals that you might be interested in are. Okay, moving on. So next slide, please. And if you just click one more time. So each of our journals will show you the journal metrics. It will tell you where it is in Scopus or where it is as an impact factor. It will give you information about whether the journal is open access as well. So have a look at all the information on the journal's website, and that should give you plenty of information to know whether it's going to be the right fit for you. It's also got information about the submission details. So how long should it be? What type of referencing? Lots of information. Okay, moving on. Next slide, please. Okay. Before I move on, any questions for me around picking the right journal? Okay, anything in the chat? Are we okay? Okay. And can I just check what time I'm finishing? I'm okay, right? Okay. Just checking. I'm very passionate about what I do, so sometimes I can end up talking a lot. Okay, so avoiding AI pitfalls. I'm just going to start with a short list of the reasons that most articles are rejected. Number one is always about it being sent to the wrong journal. If you pick a journal that isn't interested in your research, it's never going to get published, and you're wasting your time and the time of the editor. I know it might seem funny that somebody would send it to the wrong journal. But it's amazing. We looked through some particular submissions from an Indonesian university to see if there was some reasons why some content was being rejected. And there were quite a number of articles going to journal, the Italian Journal of something, or the Baltic Journal of something else. Those journals are generally looking at content that's interested in Italy or Europe, or they're looking at the Baltics. They're not going to be interested in something from Indonesia. So it's just a simple example, but you really need to be sure that what you're submitting to is the right journal. So please don't fall into that trap. Not following the journal's author guidelines. If it asks for an article that's no more than 4,000 words and you send them a 6,000 word article, they will just desk reject it. If you send it to them and it's the wrong referencing style, or it's not got all of the information that's required, they will also reject it. So think about making sure you follow the guidelines. Number 3, if it doesn't offer any new contribution to the subject or field. So you may be getting pressure from your profs, your deans, to publish more. But what you need to think about is look at your research and think, have I done something in my research which is exciting to me? Do I think it's going to be exciting to other people? Is it something I can share internationally? Is it something we've done in Thailand that is really interesting to a wider audience? So if you haven't got a new contribution or something that you want to tell people about, think again about what you want to write your article about. So you need to be thinking about, there's so what about your research? Why is it going to be interesting? If you want people to share it. Publishing isn't just about ticking a box. Publishing is about you building your reputation and the trust in you as an academic globally. And that's what we're here to help you and support you with. But if you try to publish something which isn't of value to the international community, it won't have the impact that you want. So let's try and work together to do that. Number 4, not properly contextualized. So there's nothing wrong with you doing research about something specific that's happening in Thailand, but make sure that those other people that you're talking to with your research article understand from your article the cultural context, the politics, anything that they would need to know about why that's interesting. Why is that impactful to a wider group of people? So you need to contextualize your article. And then number 5, poor writing style, grammar or English. We'll talk about the AI section of that in a second, but if it's got typos in the title, if the abstract's full of bad grammar, it's going to be a desk reject, because the academic editor gets hundreds and hundreds of submissions, particularly for Q1 journals. They often have reject rates that are very high. So they're looking in some ways for easy rejects. This is just badly written. It's gone. So there are lots of tools now that you can use to just check your grammar and spelling quite quickly. So that's a kind of unforgivable mistake.
And then includes in the different English style as well. When you write down, look like a mix up between that UK English and the US English. Sometimes you're gonna get rejects by that.
Yeah.
That's as well, right?
I hope that the editor would be a little bit kinder. If it's British and American English, they would be a bit kinder. We do have copy editing that can then address that. But in the instructions for authors, it will say whether they prefer English spelling or American spelling. Just pick one and stick to it. At worst, you get it wrong. At least you get it wrong consistently, and it can be changed. But generally, they will say whether they prefer English or American spelling. But as I say, if you're going to get it wrong, just be consistently wrong, and then it can be changed by the copy editor. But I wouldn't expect you to be rejected for some, S's and Z's mixed up, because if that was the case, I would have problems with lots of people who email me. But new onto the top reasons for rejection is incorrect or undeclared use of artificial intelligence. And this is becoming a really big issue for academic publishing as a whole, not just with Taylor and Francis. Li Pui mentioned about our research ethics and integrity. We have a fantastic team who've become very busy in the last 4 or 5 years. The number of cases of checking is like this. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't use it ever. So we'll talk about what you can and can't do in a second. Okay, next slide. Okay. So, oh, there you go. So I think the most important thing when you're thinking about using AI is authorship for your article. Authorship is the responsibility of you as the author for your paper. You're a representative of the published paper, and you share accountability with anybody that publishes with you. Corresponding authors sign the author's publishing agreement on behalf of the co-authors. So anybody that's an author on that paper bears responsibility. If something goes wrong with the paper or the data, you all share responsibility for retractions or problems. An AI tool can never be the author. And it should never be the author, because it cannot bear any of that responsibility. That responsibility will all come back to you. So the problem with using AI tools for anything where it's writing your content is that you can't really know where it's getting that information from. It can end up with fake citations or hallucinated references. And unless you're willing to make sure you go through and double check all of that and everything it's written, which probably takes about as much time as just writing it yourself, actually getting AI to write is a problem. So there's some information on our author services website about how does authorship get defined, but the most key takeaway for this is AI tools can never be an author. Okay, next slide, please. So we do support the responsible use of generative AI tools that respect high standards of data security, confidentiality. Language. I think something like language. I'm scared to say anything. Okay, language improvements. So if you want to do English polishing, absolutely. I think that's a great way that AI tools can help. If you're not a native English speaker, writing in English is really tough. And so AI tools can help with the English polishing. Just be careful that it doesn't end up including any tortured phrases where it's used something, it's replaced something quite simple and made it much more complicated, because that can happen as well. So do think about potentially getting somebody to just have a look through the paper before you submit. Idea generation and idea exploration is a great way of using it. So if you're trying to come up with your research hypothesis, or you're trying to think about what do I want to do, I use the example, my husband is an engineer, and he does product design, and he likes to use it to come up with ideas for, product design ideas. He doesn't necessarily use those, but he'll come up with lots of different ideations around things. And it's a great way of quickly doing that. Anything to do with online search is much quicker now with search engines. We have our own internal AI tool that we use, which is fantastic, and it really speeds things up. Literature classification, coding assistance, there's lots of ways that AI can help you. But what you need to be careful of is uploading lots of your content into an AI tool, because they leak. That information gets sucked into the AI tool and can be then reproduced other places. So if you're doing anything with your research, try and think about it as a protected, it's your intellectual property. You don't want to send it off to be sucked up by an AI tool. So that's why we would recommend you don't just throw it all into a tool and then ask it to kind of summarize or do things, because you need to be really careful. We have information on our website about our policies. They are changing all the time because it's such a fast-paced area. So it's useful to have a look at that. But the most important thing with AI is anything you use to help you with your paper, declare it. Tell the editor of the journal in your acknowledgements that you've used this AI tool and in what way. That way, if they have any questions about your AI use, they can see that you've explained that you've used this tool. And if for some reason you've used it incorrectly, they can explain that to you and have that conversation. if you haven't explained that you've used it and something comes up, they're becoming very good at checking. We have lots of internal checking tools. If it gets flagged as undeclared use of AI, the trust in you as an academic with your very prestigious academic editor, as well as Taylor & Francis. So it's really important that you declare those uses. I know that nobody in this room or online would try and do something wrong, but unfortunately it's easy with AI to make a quick mistake and not understand. But you do need to make sure that anything that is written in your paper, any references, any citations, you double check and make sure that there's nothing in there, because it can get picked up, and it often will get picked up. And it's a small mistake that can really damage your academic reputation. Okay, I hope that wasn't too negative about AI, because I think it has got lots of really positive things about it. Any questions about AI before I move on? Does that help? Okay, fantastic. Okay, moving on. Next slide, please. So if you think about, you've picked your journal, we've talked about how to avoid AI pitfalls. How do you avoid some of those rejection situations as well? One of the things that we offer is an author services checklist. It's on our author services website, which the URL is on the screen. And it just gives you like a quick checklist to say, have you done all of these things? Have you ticked all the boxes to give your paper the best chance? So checking that your paper fits the scopes of the journal, formatting guidelines, have you included the keywords, the abstract? Have you given all the information you need? If you've been asked to give a data set, have you included that? The ethics and transparency section, have you explained who's the authors, the affiliations, any competing interests? You've done any data sharing compliance? So all of those things. If you can do the checklist before you submit your paper, it just tries to avoid that desk reject stage. Okay, next slide, please. And the next step then would be the peer review process. Peer review is fundamental to quality research output for Taylor & Francis. We have been publishing for more than 200 years. And one of the reasons that we've been publishing for so long is that we are a very trusted long-term partner for our academics. And the way that we do that is by quality control checks for every article that we publish. One of the things I think when people talk about open access is people assume that open access is a quick way to publish, that it's a shortcut. That, oh, I'm paying to publish, I can quickly get my article published. We make sure that even though it's free to be read by everybody, that the quality is there, because otherwise we wouldn't be a world-class publisher and we wouldn't have the same prestige for your article. So it's really important. So we check the accuracy, the rigor, the novelty of your article, and it can improve your manuscript. It's not just something to get through. Hopefully you're getting senior academics in your field who you respect to give you their constructive feedback to help you make the article better. And they should be giving you actionable feedback. So please treat it as a collaborative dialogue. They're helping you to move forward. Okay, next slide, please. So the peer review process, I'm sure almost all of you will know this, but essentially we have the administrative checks at the beginning of the process. Now, those are the kind of desk reject stage where they're just checking to make sure that you've kind of ticked the boxes that I mentioned in the checklist. And once they're happy, the editor-in-chief is happy, it's not going to be a desk reject, which is the first hurdle to get over. Then they will invite reviewers, normally 2 to 3 for your paper. And those reviewers will give feedback and suggest a decision. And those decisions will be looked at by the editor to give back to you. So it might be a reject, which would be very disappointing. But hopefully, if they can do it quite quickly, will allow you to move on and publish somewhere else. A revise and resubmit major means that you have quite a bit of work to do, but it's not a reject. What you can do with that feedback is to go away and really take on board all of that feedback and make your paper better. So if they thought it was a definite no, they would reject it. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's a good point. You do need to look at the reviewer's feedback and decide this is big changes. It would require data collection again or something, and decide, is it worth it? Is it the right thing for you? Or do you kind of quit while you're behind and go and try a different journal? We'll talk about how to deal with the peer reviewer comments in a second. If it's minor revisions, again, it's not a reject, move forward, make the changes and go forward. Very few articles ever get an accept on the first round. And all of those decisions then will go, you'll get the chance to make feedback and amendments, and then it goes back to the reviewers and back to the editor. So sometimes papers will go around that process a number of times, and it's never a guarantee of success. But if you can engage with that process, it can make your paper much better, even if you then take that paper and move to another journal. One thing to mention with Taylor and Francis is that if your paper is rejected from one of our journals, we will try and give you an option to publish in another journal, which is called our transfers program. So we try to help you find a home for your journal. If you've got it slightly wrong on the first try, we'll give you some other suggestions. So we try to help you find a home for your paper if we can. Okay, next slide, please. So exactly that point about when do you decide to go ahead with making the changes or not. So I think the first thing when you're looking at peer reviewer comments is carefully read the feedback you've been given, perhaps a couple of times. Try and understand the comments before you react. It's quite normal for human beings to feel very offended and upset that somebody has said that your beautiful article that you've spent, you know, weeks, months, years even crafting is not perfect. How dare you? Try and keep the emotion away, and think about truly, is it the right thing to go forward with this article, with this journal? If the feedback is very major and it requires more data sets or more research, perhaps you may choose to look for a different journal. But take your time to decide, because you've already got that feedback, you're already in the journey. It can sometimes be better to suck down your emotions and try and move forward. So organize the feedback, categorize the comments and track them in a list or a table. Often you get given a table to complete by the journal. And consult your co-authors. So again, it's their responsibility. You're all responsible together to respond together and systematically respond. So go through all the comments, even the positive ones. They've said something good. Thank you so much for your lovely comment about my research. You know, make sure you systematically respond. Because those reviewers have spent their time giving you their feedback, it's only the fair and just thing to do to respond fully to their comments. Particularly, as I said, that you want to be part of that community. And so you want to not upset anybody in that community. So stay professional, be respectful, remain neutral, try and keep the emotion out of it. You can always ask your co-authors to read through the comments, make sure that you haven't, you know, been annoyed about something. So double check before you send it. Try and make things as easy for that academic editor as possible. The academic editor is trying to help you move your article forward. So if you don't give them all the information, if you don't give the reviewer all the information, then they're not going to be able to move it forward. Okay, next slide, please. This is a bit of a plea for me. I mentioned that we're very keen to have more representation from Thailand and Thai academics. We would love you to get involved in peer review more. The number of reviewers in the West or in the global North is very, very high, and the number of reviewers in the global South very, very low. And so that in and of itself is a barrier, in my opinion, to academics from the global South getting published as much, because there isn't as much familiarity with the context that we're working in. It's really important that we have more Thai peer reviewers. So It's helpful for you in terms of your skills development. You get to read lots of really interesting content and critically evaluate other people's content. Quite fun too, as well, not to be on the receiving end of the feedback all the time. It's really good for your visibility with those journals and career development, networking with editors and senior colleagues within a particular journal. And you can help support research integrity and ensure the quality of the research coming from your peers as well. Next slide, please. So I've explained why I think you should do it. This is how you might want to get involved in peer review. Taylor & Francis runs peer review training and workshops as webinars as well as in-person events, which will just give you a bit more confidence to know how to be a good peer reviewer. You can register with journals. In fact, after this event, if you're interested in registering as a peer reviewer, you can let us know and we can help you match you to a good journal for you. You can co-review with a mentor. So you do need to get the permission from the editor of the journal because you shouldn't generally share somebody's paper with anybody. But if you get permission, then one of your senior colleagues or supervisors could help you co-peer review an article just so that you have more confidence to do that. And then the more you publish and present at conferences or the more you publish yourself, the more academics will know from those particular journals that you exist, let's start with, and that you've got good quality research. So they may invite you to do that as well. So think about leveraging your networks, engage as much as possible with your community so that your expertise and knowledge is known to those editors as well. Okay, next slide, please. So my final plea is about maximizing your research impact. I know that you're all individually putting a lot of effort into trying to get your article published. You spend a lot of time researching, producing quality research, writing, and doing the publishing process. When you get your article published, don't let it just get published and nobody knows about it. Shout it from the rooftops. Because just because you've had your article published with a big international publisher like Taylor & Francis, we have a fantastic marketing team, but we also have a lot of academics who publish with us. There's so many things that you can do, and take that responsibility yourself to be open about sharing your content. Not everybody likes using social media, but there are lots of different types of social media. If you've had an article published in a Q1 journal, tell everybody on social media. I don't care if it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I don't know. There's lots of other social medias, but lots. Tell everybody. Doesn't matter who it is, particularly if it's open access. Anybody that's ever met you can read your article because that's what open access means. So tell everybody. Make sure you include a link to the official. Don't just share a PDF because then you won't get the citations and the downloads. Join academic sharing networks to make sure that, again, people who are keyword searching in academic networks for related research will be able to find you. Create a Google Scholar profile so you can track your H-index and you can, again, think about international collaborators and how are they going to find you. Make sure that your email address is online so people can find you if they want to contact you. It's so frustrating if you find somebody really interesting and then you can't find their email address to contact them from an academic's perspective. Contribute to an online publication, create a video abstract. Particularly younger generations love doing these video abstracts and they get so much visibility. I think people love a quick explanation. E-prints, if it's an open access article, not quite so relevant, but you get 50 e-copies of your work that you can send as well. Every presentation you're doing at conferences, doesn't matter if it's about that topic, let people know you've also got a paper in this area. Put it on student reading lists, lots of different things. And as I say, make your article open access, but just do as much as you can to tell people. I know Asian academics can be quite humble and quite, they don't want to shout about themselves, but you really do need to maximize your research impact as much as possible. Okay, one more slide, I think. So I know I've been speaking probably way too fast in English. If you don't hear anything else I say, please have a look at this website, authorservices.taylorandfrancis.com. All of the information I've explained today is on there. There are short guides to submission, open access, using AI, all sorts of different things. So much information and resources about being a reviewer, anything information about the events and activities we've got coming up. So hopefully that will give you some more information. Thank you so much for listening, and please do ask any questions that you might have. Have we got, how much time have we got for? Yeah.
So do you have that program form that train for the trainer, train for the reviewer? So frequency, every month, or how many times a year that you have that kind of program? Because I think that's good for that. Doesn't matter new researcher or intermediate researcher. I think to wear another cap of that reviewer instead of researcher. Yeah.
Fantastic. We do them at different stages. We can share after the event information about what peer review workshops we've got coming up, or if we haven't got one that's in Asia time zone, we can create one because I think it's really important. So we can give you that information after the session.
And I think one more thing is, I think Taylor Francis online submission is one of that user friendly, that online submission, that even though that I public into that another picture that start from E and M something minute something like that. But anytime when submit online into the Taylor Francis is easy, smooth, and then after that, as you said, even though we're gonna reject, we're gonna get a good suggestion for the next journals again. Yeah, that's good. And then what we love is all about your that journal suggester. Yeah, that we just copy paste that title or the abstract they're going to. But what we love the most is the read and public.
Yeah.
You cannot public the journal that you then cannot show through the literature review.
Yeah.
No one take your journal for sure, not your manuscript for sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any questions online? Okay, just online, there was a question about if we're interested in publishing open access, do we need to pay the APC? I believe Lupe's answered already, but it's it's a really good idea to contact your library and check always, is there funding for this? Just double check before you move forward, because it's I do think it's something that is really important as part of one of these read and publish agreements. Is it doesn't matter how much we work to try and get the marketing message out that this exists, and you can do as much as you can to let people know. I think one of the most important things is to say to your academics, contact us if you're not sure, rather than just assuming they don't have funding, because it can be really hard. You have such a lot of researchers and 5 campuses. So the message to send out is contact us if you have interest in publishing open access, and then they can ask you, because the worst thing is that people just assume they don't, and then they don't access your funds. Oh, there's a lady behind you as well, Christian, actually.
Hello, hi. Is there such a thing as a closed access?
Sorry, say that again.
Is there such a thing as closed access within the Taylor and Francis?
Yes.
Okay.
So the 2,400 open select journals that we publish, you will have the option to choose to publish open access if you have funding or your university has created funding for you, or you can publish it without it being open access. So in the traditional way that journals were always published before open access existed, that they get published if it's past the peer review process, and it just means that the university will pay to subscribe to those journals, but only those people who subscribe to the journal will have access to your article. So open access is about the readers reading the content for free. But you can absolutely publish in a journal where it isn't free for the end reader to read the article. So all of those 2,400 journals have that option to publish without being open access. But because you have this opportunity with your university to publish open access, it is generally a better way if you can, because of the visibility and the ability to share and those things. But don't let that stop you from publishing in any of our journals anyway, even if you don't have access. Does that answer your question? Okay. I think it's an important one to explain.
Sorry, can you use microphone because the online meeting can hear you as well? Thank you so much.
Good morning. I have a question on the AI usage. As many non-English speaker researcher, they always rely on the AI for checking the language quality, grammar, or for English improvement. But as you said that the AI can detect if we use the AI for that or not. So do you think is it still acceptable for us to submit or upload the entire manuscript for language uses, or do you have any other suggestion for us? Because if we want to for having a really good quality of the manuscript to submit in certain journal, we need to submit the whole or the full manuscript for the AI to check and read all the reception and the content that we would like to read it.
Thank you so much for your question. I think it's a really important question. So whatever you use, always make sure you declare it in the acknowledgements of the journal, of your article. So even if you're just using it to do English polishing, you should still declare the fact that you've used an AI tool and which AI tool. The free tools are great, but they don't have any limits to what they can do to your content. So that when you put your whole paper, let's say ChatGPT, you put your whole paper in, it has, as part of its agreement with you, it will give you this for free, but it will take all of your research and put it into its AI tool. So it could basically use your research for future, search. It learns from your content and it could use it. There are other AI tools which are paid for, which will agree to ring fence your content and protect your content so that when you put your research paper in, it doesn't then take that content. So we, as a publisher, use a tool called DeepL Pro, for example, to do some AI translations for some of our book projects. We work with DeepL Pro on a professional license to have like a black box around our content. So any of our content that goes into DeepL Pro for Taylor and Francis is protected. DeepL Pro cannot use that content to do other things with it. So you just need to really be aware of what that tool is going to do with your content to protect your own research. So I'm not saying don't use English polishing. I think it's great, but really be aware of what the AI tool you're using is doing with your research when you upload it, and make sure you declare the use. The other thing, if you're doing the whole thing, checking and polishing with AI, is that AI, it seems smart, but actually it's not very smart, and it can do really strange things. So you need to really potentially get somebody else to just have a read through before you submit it, to make sure that AI hasn't created some really weird phrasing or done something that changes the meaning of what you've written. And be very clear you're asking it to just polish and not rewrite your paper as well. So just be careful. Do you need that for sure? Or can you do it by asking somebody else who's a native English speaker to help you? Just check, how bad is your English really? Because I know it seems like a shortcut, but it can be a bit problematic. So declare, check what the AI tool is using your research for, and how protected is your data. I hope that helps. Thank you. It's a great question.
Okay. Sorry, I have the one questions. Thank you for your presentation, and I have the. Do you have any suggestion for our staff, like a librarian, to like or RDO staff to set up a team to support the researcher before to like submit to your system? Okay.
I'm sure we can. Let's perhaps talk about that separately. I think there's lots of things I think we can do to help support you. And we also offer something called Train the Trainer. So we can, with our research integrity and ethics team, who are the experts within Taylor and Francis on AI, I've had to become a little bit of an expert because I do this job, but it's not my natural sense. They can do something where they can help train your internal team to be able to support the whole faculty and student base, which is, I think, the best ways to help you help them, rather than relying on, us having a webinar or a session that works for your team. But I think that's something we can talk about separately. Okay, Lipui, just let me know. We've got some links in the chat online to our Open Select Author workflow and the submission portal and our author services, and then some of our forthcoming events and webinars. So that's hopefully gives you some information as well. Thank you so much, everybody. If you have questions later, please do put them in the chat, or if you're in the room, we're going to be here for the after the session, so please do come and speak to me. I wish you all the best of success with your publications. We hope to see huge numbers of fantastic research quality publications. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Katie Pierce, for your insightful presentation. Our next speaker is Professor Dr. Thirapon Srichana, Professor of Pharmaceutics, Prince of Songkhla University, and Director of the Drug Delivery System Excellence Center. We are also proud to congratulate him on receiving the National Outstanding Researcher Award for fiscal year 2026 in the field of chemical and pharmaceutical science, a prestigious national recognition of his outstanding contributions to research and academic excellence. Today, he will deliver a presentation on Manuscript to Publication, Roadmap to Success. Please join me in giving him a warm round of applause. Professor Dr. Thirapon Srichana.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm very sorry that I should attend to this several session that you have been. I just touched the last one that Kathy please mentioned, so I'm sorry that I should attend it earlier, that I can get some information before that. And I hope that my session will not make you feel upset, because I see around that only the people from Taylor Francis and also the people from the library and also our managing staff, not many academia here. So I don't know it would help or not, or just only sharing some of my experience on that. So yeah, let's see. Okay. The title of my talk is talking about publication and from research work to publication. As you may know, that why we have to do research, and we are talking that when we are in a university, we have to do teaching, we have to do research, and we have to do academic services. But why research? Why have we have to do it? Why not only doing research? Why publication? Remember, publication is being publicized or being making some information available for public, because the public funds for your research. And then when you have got the data, you have got some result from your study, you have to share, not keep it in the research book, or not only in a research report. That is not enough. So I think no one question why we have to do research, because it's important. because sometimes we really need a new knowledge. We want to go to the Mars, we want to go to the moon. We need a research, we need a new knowledge, something that we don't know about it before. We need an answer from that. Sometimes research is also a problem solving. We want to know how to solve this problem. We have the problem with Iranian and US, and how can we tackle the problem? How can we solve the problem? We also need a research. A research sometimes it can be also a new interpretation, a new argument, or something that we cannot decide how can we go with that an argument. So it needs, and research is a long-term effort. It needs a plan and need your effort and also your innovative thinking. You need your somewhere here before you gather all the data, before writing a report or publication at the end. So it means that if you plan to do a research, you settle with your research work, you need an effort. You need your innovative thinking before you get an output or outcome and leading to publication at the end. Next, please. And I really suggest all the researchers in a university, in my research group, in anywhere, then have a talk with anybody. You have to set up your research roadmap. It can be 5 years, it can be 10-year plan. It depends. For example, this is my research roadmap some years ago. I did only 3 major research areas in lung delivery. The first one is about sildenafil. It's for vasodilation in the blood vessel, for hypertension. So I developed the drug called sildenafil for lung delivery that can help during the time that you have hypertension, that it can be dilate your blood vessel very quickly, otherwise you die. The second one I'm talking about amphotericin, but that is lung fungal infection, and we developed from the formulation design until the in vivo animal study, and we plan to do in vivo human study. And the last one that I have done over 20 years now about anti-tuberculosis, to fight against tuberculosis, especially in multiple drug resistant tuberculosis, with as a problem in Southeast Asia and in South Asia. And from the formulation until in vitro, in vivo study, until the clinical trial phase 1 and phase 2. They did the plan. And I really suggest all the researchers to do that, to have your research plan, 5-year or 10-year plan, and keep to your roadmap until you end all your research career, right? And from the research roadmap, next will be the plan. Next slide. Can I move the slide by myself? I think. Okay. Because then I can move it as fast as I want. So yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, right. So at the beginning, when you have your research roadmap, when you do your plan, you have to define your objective, clear objective, what you want to do, what do you really want to do? Identify the context, the important or relevant of your research work. Of course, you need a review, literature review, that you have to read a lot, read several articles, and then you do the study design and check how you analyze your data to meet the objective. Keep the objective, go along with your objective, and analyze to meet the objective. At the end of the day, your schedule must stick to the protocol. and assign the task, because I believe that failing to plan is planning to fail. Even the plan carefully, we still be likely to fail in the research work. But if you have no plan, it's likely that you will fail in your research work. And research project, as I mentioned earlier, and require a long-term integration effort. You need to co-work, you need to talk, you need to communicate with several parties in order to success in your work. And if you say, oh, I'm busy, I cannot do that, I'm too busy, you never progress in your research work, and you never go anywhere from your work. Right. When you have your plan, keep to the protocol and then execute your plan. And I'm sure that all the audience here, you have the skill in your subject area. You have your logbook, you have to record all the data. But again, strictly keep to the protocol, but again, you leave some room for flexibility, because when you have your data, you check your data daily or weekly, and then carry out the analysis or diagnostic check to see whether that your data is unexpected data or the data that is likely that you will get. That is the second part. After planning, execute the plan, and then you have your data. And from the data, you will. How can I?
Can you click one more time? Can you click next slide? Next slide. With that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next, that is the previous one, sorry. Next one. Right. Now, coming to after you do the plan, you execute the plan, you have your data, and then you go for data analysis. Next, please. Keeping. Right. And at the end of the day, you have the data, you need to report your data, either your research report, either publication, either for anything. First, you have to think about who is your target audience, what journal that you want to go, and who are the reader of that type of journal or the target audience. And I think Taylor Francis has journal suggested, and several publishers, they have their tool to help you to decide that your research work fits to the scope, fits to the audience, and you need to follow the style and the format. Even now, I have done my publication over 30 years, but again, every time I need to read the instruction all the time, because it changes all the time. I think every year is something, some modification, some change. So you need to read carefully what is the instruction, what are the detail of the journal, and writing as a practice. You have to do practicing. You cannot born and then you do everything. You can do it perfect at the first place. So you need your practicing. And it's like riding a bicycle. You do it at the beginning, and then you train and you do it well, and you do it better and better. So it's practicing. Keep in mind that writing is a skill and one type of presentation. And if you have not practiced, it will lead to chaotic. It never go, and you get your work published at the end of the day. Okay. Right. And now coming to the how you structure your paper, all the journal format. I think first is the title,
Second, in an abstract, and then introduction, literature review, methodology, the data, your result, your conclusion, and reference. I would like to say, like your name, the title is the most important thing that you need. Title, like when you want the title to be there, how can you decide what would be the best title of your work? You need all the keyword in your research work. What is that? Can you move to the next slide, please? The title has to be specific. It needs to be very specific so potential readers can evaluate whether it is of interest to them. They should read it or not. It needs to draw attention to any grasp the title. Oh, I should read this one. It's good to read. First, it needs to draw an attention. It needs to be very specific. Next suggestion. You have to avoid the jargon term or acronym that might be unknown to your audience. The potential reader will not read if they don't understand the title. So it needs to be simple, it needs to be concise, it needs to be accurate, and it needs to draw attention, not exaggeration, but it needs to be realistic too. Next. So you have to think that the title is appropriate or not, the title is effective or not, or the title is just, you have to see overall. First, what I would suggest that you have the keyword and you put the keyword all together and how you link all the keyword into your title. And as I say, no jargon term, no acronym, it needs to concise and accurate there. Next, from the title, right? The title is the most important one. Next, the abstract. Sometimes the abstract say that, okay, 150 words, 200 words, 300 words. Several journals that they limited that number. If you still have more than that, you never be able to submit your document because they keep asking that, okay, it needs to be less than 200. So you have to make it concise. Remember, the abstract is a self-contained summary of your scientific work or your professional work. And of course, it appears at the beginning of the document to help reader quickly assess whether that, okay, what is the key finding? Should I read it? Or at waste of time to read this article. That's why the abstract is a standalone overview covering essential point without full detail for the reader, whether, oh, I should decide to read it or I should spend some time to have a look in detail. That is an abstract. After the abstract, then introduction. The researcher has to begin with reading, right? When you have your proposal, you have the result. Sometimes introduction would come at the end because at first you have to write all your methodology because the easiest and the quickest at writing a methodology because you have done by yourself. You know how you do it, how you perform this experiment, and you know how you put the research figure, research table. But coming to the introduction, it should come at the end of the day when you gather all the methodology, all the result, and then come back to the introduction, because introduction need to identify a specific problem area. It shouldn't be so broad that the reader can figure out what exactly the writer are investigating. It's okay that you start with something broad, but at the end of the day, it need to narrow down to a specific topic that is being studied, right? And not only that, the researcher want to establish what is the important in this area. If it's not important, why should you waste your time to do it, to studying it? Because doing a research need lot of money, need an effort, need your time. Why should the reader waste their time to reading about it if it's not worth reading it? So, for example, you're working with obesity and your introduction might introduce statistics about what percentage of people are obese and what diseases may be influenced by obesity. And then you narrow down to what are really you want to focus, right? So the one who are the obese or the one who have the problem might like to read, like to know what is your key finding. And also you need to keep in mind that the introduction flow logically from topic to topic, not jumping around. If it's jumping around and it's difficult to follow, then they say, oh, forget about this work. I will not read it further. I just keep it here. I don't want to read it now, right? So that now overall, you have to think about introduction is appropriate or not, right? From introduction, the pitfall sometimes what we have, for example, when you do the introduction with men that also literature review, it weight that due to too much or inappropriate generalization, no specific at all, or no limited range, or insufficient information, or irrelevant material, or you omit something like something that is contrasting view. You omit all. I did only positive. I don't want any negative. Or you omit some recent work because you are afraid that, oh, it may be similar to your work or close to your work. So you want to say my work is very novel, it's new. So I don't want to share some recent work that other people, if you do that, then it's really a pitfall for that. Right, and the key player and the sources. First, identify the key people in your field and call it all relevant source about your topic. What research and theory is there, right? You need to know the theory and research in that area. What are the key sources? Where, what is it, what journal that is really close to your research work? Has the topic been investigated over time? Has this problem, has this topic been investigated chronologically to see, right, where to start? Sometimes you do not need to read everything. You don't need to read everything in this world. Every day, many people publish million articles. You don't need to read every text. You don't need to read every word. And nowadays, I think AI tool help you a lot in terms of gather important information, gather important thing or the most relevant to your work. Think critically when identifying the key idea, the theme, or the methodology. It's important to think. This will allow you to identify the gap in the literature. Where is the gap? What are the strengths and the weakness of that debate? What evidence is lacking? Is that limited? Is that conclusive or inconclusive? What will you add to the topic? What will your research work add to the topic? What will you do differently? Remember, research work is novel, research work is new, research work is something very important or contribute to the new knowledge, to new interpretation or new argument. If something very similar, me too, not me first. I do it first, I report it first. This is the first time appearing in an article. That is what you need to do. Now I move on from the introduction to the method section. This part, I say that you can write first because you have done by yourself. Many researchers feel that this section of research is the most important section, right? But again, that is what you have done. You have to make sure that sometimes the research work was rejected or rejected because they suspect of your method. Your method is, I don't know, the doubt about it. It may not repeatable. It may be retract of your work because they doubt about how you get that, or have you done that experimentally, or have you done it, or you just copy it. That you have to be careful with this part. Right. When you see your method section, right? Sometimes it needs a laboratory test. Sometimes you need all the data. You measure something. It's crucial to know how variable are measured or measure is described in detail for reader, because sometimes your work will be lent the technology to somewhere else around the corner of the globe. They have to repeat your work. So your work must be repeatable, because this part is important, that it contributes to the world. Other people can use your work, can repeat your work, and be repeatable. That is important here. And then from the method, according to the method, you will get your result or result part. With it need to be in accordance with the method and the result, right? Method will link to the objective of your work. What are the objectives? How many methodology that serve the objective? Objective number one may be 3 methods. Objective number 2 may be 2 methods. Objective number 3. So it means that from the title will link to your objective. The objective will link to your methodology. From methodology will link to your result. So it flow. Researcher has to be stick that to the method and then to the result, right? And also, we state the research problem at the beginning, or research question at the beginning. The result must answer to your research problem or to your research question that you state earlier in your study. When you have all your result, right? Now moving on, of course, you need sometimes some journal is a result and discussion. Sometimes it's separate section between result and discussion. It depends. So you have to follow the instruction, whether result and discussion, or result separate from the discussion. And the result discussed in terms of literature site in the introduction. So again, this part of discussion needs to link or cross reference with your introduction literature review and your cited that you cited in the introduction, right? How does this study fit into the body of the literature? Specific implication be discussed, implication of researcher, and for practitioners should be discussed is further research discussed in detail. I mean, you have to discuss all dimensions of those findings because sometimes there is the gap that you can explain or you can discuss, you can argue, you can interpret. So this part is also very important in terms of detailed discussion of the research work. Nearly the final part of the reference, right? This part of the reference will tie to literature reviews. For example, important studies should be included here. Current research should be here. Adequate number of reference should be here. And what is the missing piece, right? Because what we are doing, we want to fit the missing piece or to add up knowledge to new argument or new interpretation here. So all that is at the beginning of introduction and the objective of the work. Now I come to the final checklist. You have to check all nowadays. I think nearly all the journal they have the final checklist to see that have I fulfilled the purpose of literature review as it written label appropriate to the audience. Are the facts correct? As all the information included relevant? Are the layout of presentation easy or not? Is the language clear, concise, and academic? Does the abstract summarize the entire review? Right, this is the checklist. Does the introduction adequately into the topic? Is the body organized logically? Does the conclusion interpret or analyze and evaluate? A recommendation reasonable? Does the table content correspond with the actual content? Because the figure or the table must start from table 1, 2, 3, figure 1, figure 2, figure 3. Are the page number correct? Have I acknowledged all the source of funding or source of content? Have I checked all spelling? Because nowadays, many to help you in terms of spelling, many to help you in terms of grammar or punctuation. These things should be all correct because this is the most simplest tool that help you in terms of, for example, you be annoyed if you are a reviewer and it's misspelling, grammar is wrong, and there are many tools that help you about that punctuation. Now coming when you nearly complete everything, because I didn't reference, editing and proofreading is also a good practice. Editing, sometimes you need 5 times, 10 times to make sure that it meets the all requirement, and also editing process is improving your written work, and also this activity form a major part of writing process, and at the end proofreading is the final check before printing or submission your manuscript to anywhere. It's a process that help you removing error or improve your presentation, how your work is there. And not only that, I think figure how neat you prepare your figure, how you prepare your table, that it need to design. You have a look several articles when they publish in the renowned journal. The way that they present the figure, the way that they present the table help you a lot in terms of learning how to prepare that good table or that figure. How can they imagine and they put in that way? Because the same thing, the same data set, for example, when I have my 5 PhD students, the same data set, different people decide different type of table prepare different figure, and it completely different. So it depends how you imagine to do it. Thanks. I think nearly at the end. I think plagiarism. I didn't say anything about falsification, fabrication, because those is your responsibility about fabrication, falsification. That is your responsibility. That no one can detect you, and your ethical. It is in yours. That those are your responsibility. But plagiarism that help you either authenticate or turn it in or other software can help you, whether that you self-plagiarize or you use some other people or material without citing a source, or borrowing a structure, or borrowing a sentence without giving the sources, or using paper writing service, or having a friend, or using another writer work without proper citation, then this tool can also help you in terms of plagiarize. But as I said, not only plagiarism, but fabrication, falsification, that is another matter that we need to consider. I think that's all. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Thirapon, for your valuable presentation. To express our sincere gratitude, I would like to invite Ms. Katie Peace to please come to remain in front of the stage. And now may I cordially invite Professor Dr. Thirapon to please come forward to receive souvenir of our appreciation from our speaker.
I would love to take some time to ask for you to answer any questions. I just wanted to say how great that worked, because I think you complemented what I said from a researcher perspective beautifully. And I couldn't agree more with a lot of the things that you said, particularly around citing and referencing the sources, the important sources, because often your reviewers will be the writers of those important key sources. And if you haven't referenced their work, then they can be quite unhappy when they come to look at your paper. So I think that was really important as well. But I'm looking forward to hearing any questions from the audience, because I thought that was really helpful.
Please. I think over a number of years, I also not only publish my work with Taylor Francis, but also the book or book chapter, and working with the book or book chapter 2, 3, chapter 4, chapter, as far as I remember, or more than that, with the Taylor and Francis. And I think the editor also helped a lot in terms of help editing, proofreading, and very impressive that the team help in terms of finish up the work on the time frame, limited time frame. That is the most, I don't know, critical part, because they say, oh, you have to do it in 6 months or 8 months. So it means that the timeline needs to be, because the editor also say, oh, have you finished that? And when next, yeah.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
And I haven't mentioned books today particularly. I know Lee Pui mentioned Routledge and CRC Press, which are our 2 book imprints. But book publishing is a fantastic opportunity. And if you are asked to be a book chapter author, it's a great way of also increasing your visibility. So again, do come and speak to me if you have any questions about book publishing. I spent nearly a decade working as a book commissioning editor, so I'm very familiar with the process as well. But I'm pleased that you had a good experience.
Thank you. Can have some question. First question is to that Taylor Francis, whether you have any that invitation email to invite like a big name like a Professor Thilapon to write out, for example, the review paper. I think gonna be good from the both sides of the university, researcher and then the publisher. The next is for the Professor Thilapon Cup, because of how you avoid that plagiarism, especially the self-plagiarism. You public paper, much more than 100 paper, for example, and then the information or data come from the same brain of you. Sometimes you type that information or data is come from the same brain. Sometimes that you don't want to do self-plagiarism, it's come from your brain. How can you avoid the self-plagiarism? That is my another question. So sorry, just telephone it first. Yeah.
I think you were looking over my shoulder at my notes in my notebook because I had already written down I had already written down a note to suggest that we invite you to do a review paper or help us to do a special issue or something. It would be fantastic. We would be honored to have more research from you in our journal. So a great idea, a great joint idea there. I'll let you answer the second question about safe self-citation.
Think for invitation for reviews, I think it depends on how your work. I mean, in continuing from the question that you asked her, I think it depends on how has your work over a number of years, and they will invite you or not. It depends on the quality of your work and depends on who you are. And several times, or most of the time, if you are in the board, it's likely if you submit or they invite you, if you are in editorial board, that it's likely you'll be invited to be the writer there of the reviews. But again, if you are not in the board, and most of the time I also send a letter and ask the editor, and they also, if they agree, then it'll be likely to be publishable, because if you send some draft and the idea, and sometimes also, I mean, they also reject the idea because it's out of scope, or I don't like your work, and think it can also be. And you say that, okay, I have published a number of now 200 something, and it also very difficult, but to make sure that it not self-plagiarism, but I'm not worrying about that, because several top people, they publish 800 paper, and it, as far as you write it from here, not start with copying and then placing there. If you write it from here, then it'll be easy that it never be repeated, because you're writing from what you are thinking, not writing from what is available in those. So if it's coming from here, then it will not be repeated.
Just to add on the self-plagiarism, I think the most important thing, exactly as you just said, is it's fine if you're writing from your own thoughts and your own ideas, but if you are copy and pasting work from previous articles you've written or book chapters, you need to reference yourself, particularly if you're using the same words, if you're using the same tables and data. You need to be really clear to that journal editor and the reviewers that this work has already been published somewhere, because in journal publishing, citations are very important, and the editors, particularly of those Q1 journals, are very keen that the paper is a lot of new material and new exciting findings, so that they will get maximum citations. If 2/3 of your paper has already been published somewhere else, or the most important data has already been published somewhere else, they need to have that understanding so they can make a decision if they're interested in publishing or not. So even if it's your work, if you're copying and pasting from your own previous work, you still need to cite where that material was seen. But if it's coming from your own brain and it's your ideas, even if you're just thinking out loud for yourself to write, but if you're copying and pasting, it's really important to, or using your own data that's already been published somewhere else, be really clear. Again, it's just that transparency allows them to make that decision. If you are caught looking as if you're trying to pretend that this is all new material, it can damage your trust.
Thank you very much. And our next speaker is Ms. Kanjana Sachana Supin, Journal Sales Executive Taylor and Francis, who will deliver a presentation on navigating Taylor and Francis online for academic research. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Kanjana Sachana Supin.
ค่ะสวัสดีค่ะทุกท่านก็การชนาสาชนะสุพินนะคะค่ะขอบคุณค่ะค่ะ Journal Sales Executive นะคะวันนี้ก็จะขออนุญาตพรีเซนต์ในหัวข้อ Navigating Taylor and Francis for Academic Research นะคะซึ่งตรงนี้ค่ะจะเป็นวิธีการอธิบายง่ายๆเกี่ยวกับการใช้งานแพลตฟอร์ม T&F ออนไลน์หรือที่เรียกว่า TFO นะคะโอเคค่ะในตัว TFO เนี้ยค่ะเราจะสามารถค้นหาข้อมูลสำหรับการใช้งานวิจัยได้อย่างไรบ้างแล้วก็มีฟีเจอร์หรือว่าฟังก์ชันและการเข้าถึงได้อย่างไรบ้างค่ะได้ยินเสียงชัดเจนนะคะขอบคุณค่ะ โอเคค่ะก่อนอื่นนะคะขออนุญาตทบทวนว่าทางมอ มีการบอกรับฐานข้อมูลของทาง Taylor Francis อะไรบ้างนะคะก็คือปัจจุบันค่ะรับเป็นแบบ full library collection นะคะประกอบไปด้วย3สาขาหลักใหญ่ๆนะคะนั่นก็คือ SFH S&P แล้วก็เป็น medical library ค่ะทั้งหมดผู้ใช้งานสามารถเข้าถึง full text ได้ประมาณมากกว่า 2,100 รายชื่อค่ะ แล้วก็สามารถใช้งานผ่าน IP address ของทางสถาบันค่ะรายละเอียดเพิ่มเติมนะคะขออนุญาตนำเสนอว่าในส่วนของ SSH นะคะผู้ใช้สามารถเข้าใช้งานได้ประมาณ 1,485 รายชื่อค่ะถัดไปตัว S&T จะอยู่ที่ 490 รายชื่อและ Medical Library มีทั้งหมด 170 รายชื่อค่ะ อันนี้เป็นข้อมูลอัปเดตนะปี 2026 นะคะในส่วนของการเข้าใช้งานแพลตฟอร์มค่ะผู้ใช้สามารถเข้าถึงแพลตฟอร์มได้ที่ www.tnfonline.com นะคะเรามีวารสารมากกว่า 2,700 รายชื่ออันนี้รวมตัวที่เป็น Open Access ค่ะสามารถเข้าถึงได้ตลอดเวลานะคะแล้วก็มีมากกว่า 5 ล้านบทความที่เป็นงานวิจัยค่ะรวมถึงผู้ใช้ส่วนมากก็จะเป็นนักวิจัยผู้เขียนบรรณารักษ์แล้วก็เอดิเตอร์และสมาคมวิชาการต่างๆค่ะอ่าหวังว่าทุกท่านนะคะจะมี access การเข้าใช้งานของแพลตฟอร์ม TNF นะคะ เรามาดูตัวอย่างการเข้าหาแพลตฟอร์มนะคะก็คือหลังจากที่ล็อกอินผ่าน IP address ของทางสถาบันแล้วค่ะจะเห็นได้ว่าหน้านี้จะเป็นแพลตฟอร์มซึ่งเราสามารถเริ่มใช้งานได้เลยอะค่ะก็คือสามารถค้นหาแล้วก็เลือกสาขาที่สนใจตามด้านล่างได้เลยค่ะ ขั้นตอนถัดไปนะคะเริ่มจากผู้ใช้สามารถพิมพ์คำสำคัญเช่นชื่อบทความคีย์เวิร์ดสาขาวิชาชื่อผู้เขียนหรือหมายเลข DOI ในช่องค้นหาค่ะหลังจากนั้นสามารถเลือกได้ว่าจะตั้งค่าเป็นการค้นหาแบบพื้นฐานหรือว่าเป็นแบบ Advanced Search นะคะสำหรับตัว Review Result List เราจะสามารถเห็นตัวบทความรายละเอียดเกี่ยวกับวารสารแล้วก็ปีที่ตีพิมพ์ค่ะ นอกจากนี้ยังสามารถ identify การเข้าถึงได้ว่าจะเป็น subscription โดยดูในมุมล่างขวาค่ะจะเห็นเป็นตัวสีเขียวนะคะ และถ้าเป็น Open Access ค่ะ จะเป็นตัวสีส้ม เป็นกุญแจประมาณนี้ค่ะ เราจะเปรียบเทียบหน้า Search Result ก่อนจะเข้าสู่หน้า Full Article นะคะ ทางด้านซ้ายค่ะเป็นหน้าตอนที่เราคีย์คำสำคัญเข้าไปเราจะเห็นตัว Search Result ขึ้นมาว่ามีจำนวน article เท่าไหร่จำนวนวารสารอยู่เท่าไหร่แล้วก็มี database ทั้งหมดอยู่ที่เท่าไหร่อะค่ะแต่พอคลิกเข้าไปนะบทความที่เราต้องการนะคะจะเห็นเป็นหน้า page article ซึ่งตัวนี้จะนำไปสู่การอ่านแบบออนไลน์หรือว่าดาวน์โหลด PDF รวมถึงสามารถ export ค่า citation ไปสู่โปรแกรม รรณานุกรมได้รวมถึงรายละเอียดอื่นๆเกี่ยวกับเมทริกค่ะถัดไปค่ะจะเป็นฟีเจอร์บน article นะคะทาง Taylor Francis อะค่ะเรามีฟังก์ชัน support การใช้งานคร่าวๆนะคะเกี่ยวกับ accessibility support เริ่มจากเราสามารถฟังโดยเลือกภาษาได้ตรงนี้สามารถเปลี่ยนเป็นภาษาไทยได้ตามต้องการนะคะรวมถึงมีฟังก์ชันการแปลค่ะผ่าน Google Translate เพื่อให้ผู้ใช้เข้าใจว่าบทความที่เราต้องการค้นหาค่ะตรงกับความต้องการหรือไม่นะคะถัดไปค่ะจะเป็นตัว Full Text ค่ะเราสามารถดาวน์โหลดได้ในรูปแบบ PDF หรือว่าเป็น EPUB format นะคะส่วนในของตัวหมายเลข DOI ตัวนี้ เราจะโชว์ตรงข้อมูลด้านล่างในกรอบสี่เหลี่ยมอะค่ะอาจจะเล็กนิดนึงแล้วก็ในส่วนของการ Export Citation แล้วก็ Reference เราสามารถ Export ไปตามที่กิ๊บกล่าวไปข้างต้นนะคะไปสู่โปรแกรม EndNote หรือว่า RefWork ค่ะในส่วนของ Crossmark Update นะคะตัวนี้เป็นฟังก์ชันสำหรับเช็คว่าบทความที่เราต้องการใช้เป็นเวอร์ชันล่าสุดมีการตีพิมพ์ แล้วก็มีการแก้ไขบทความหรือไม่ค่ะ และสุดท้ายนะคะจะเป็นตัวเมทริกค่ะ ซึ่งผู้ใช้สามารถเช็คจำนวน Impact ได้ว่ามีการเข้าชม แล้วก็ดาวน์โหลดเท่าไหร่ แล้วก็มีการแชร์อยู่ประมาณที่เท่าไหร่นะคะ โอเคค่ะ แล้วก็ในส่วนของการ Training และ Support นะคะ ของทาง Taylor Francis ค่ะยังมีการ Training Support เพื่อให้ผู้ใช้งานสามารถเข้าใช้งานแพลตฟอร์มได้อย่างมีประสิทธิภาพนะคะ ซึ่งเราสามารถจัดได้ทั้งในรูปแบบออนไลน์แล้วก็ออนไซต์นะคะ รวมถึงยังมีข้อมูลอื่นๆในตัว Resource Hub ที่โชว์ตามด้านล่างนี้ค่ะเป็น User Guide สำหรับการใช้งานแพลตฟอร์ม แล้วก็ทางผู้ใช้สามารถสแกน QR Code เข้าไปเพื่อดูข้อมูลเพิ่มเติมได้เลยค่ะ เดี๋ยวขออนุญาต1 นาทีสำหรับโชว์ข้อมูลบนตัว YouTube นะคะ
Research account specialist based in Tokyo, Japan. And today I'm going to talk about our author workflow for using your open access agreement for your manuscript accepted for publication in our open selected journals. Open select is the term we use for hybrid journals, meaning that they can publish your article as open access or non-open access, depending on your choice when your manuscript is accepted for publication. To make it clear, articles submitted to a full OA journals will have a different workflow, and this talk does not cover it, but I specifically focus on the workflow for hybrid journals. And I've got 16 slides today, but believe me, it is very
ขออนุญาตเริ่มใหม่นะคะ
very simple and straightforward. And I will take questions at the end. So this little graphic gives you a high-level overview. I'm going to talk about our author workflow for using your open access agreement for your manuscript accepted for publication in our open selected journals. Open select is the term we use for hybrid journals, meaning that they can publish your article as open access or non-open access, depending on your choice when your manuscript is accepted for publication. To make it clear, articles submitted to a full OA journals will have a different workflow, and this talk does not cover it, but I specifically focus on the workflow for hybrid journals. And I've got 16 slides today, but believe me, it is very simple and straightforward. And I will take questions at the end. So this little graphic gives you a high-level overview of what the author journey is. The author will begin their journey by submitting their article to an open select journal. The article will then go through to our production colleagues in peer review. Once it is accepted for publication, this is when the author is asked to complete the author publishing agreement. And that's exactly what we are going through today. When you sign your author publishing agreement, you can select to use your open access agreement to cover the article publishing charge. Then your institution will approve your request on our system called Research Dashboard. And then your article will be published as open access. Okay, so let me talk more about the workflow. So once an article has been accepted for publication, the author receives this email to let them know we've got an open access agreement. Some authors might not realize we've now got this agreement in place, so this just gives them a little bit of information to say that we have. After that, the author will get this email asking them to complete the author publishing agreement. What they need to do now is to just click the Start Agreement Process button here. And right at the beginning, it will bring up all the details of the article, the name, the article title, and their affiliation. This affiliation will obviously show us your institution now at this stage. If the author notices anything that's not correct, they are able to request changes by clicking here and using the message function. If you send a message for a request correction, our production team will review whatever changes need to be made. So if something isn't quite right, the author can go, oh, hang on a minute, and we can make those changes for the author. They then have the chance to say if they received any funding for the article. If they select yes, that will prompt you to add in the funder and the grant number. If they didn't receive any funding, it will be a no, and then just click next to move on to the next page. Now, this is probably one of the most important screens for the author. So at this stage, they can request to use the agreement. Here, we are highlighting the institution we have them affiliated to. So you should be able to see your institution name here. If the name of this institution is not correct, they can once again submit to request the changes. There is also a help icon opening further text to make it clear to the author what choice they are making. As an author, if you'd like to understand more about the open access agreements in place with Taylor & Francis and your affiliated institution, we have a link to our author service page. So by clicking here, you can see, find out the agreement details. So once they've completed that screen, the rest of it is fairly standard for the author. So they have to confirm who owns the copyright. You'll notice lots of these little question marks here, and that's just where a little bit more information the author can find. They then get a chance to choose their license, usually selecting from two options, CC BY NC or CC BY. Again, a little pop-up box to give them more information to what the different licenses mean. After that, it is a page to confirm if they need to declare any conflict of interest. If they press yes, a pop-up box will appear for them to enter the information in. And the next, if there's any permission they need to make us aware of, and again, if they press yes, a pop-up box will appear for them to provide that information. They will then have to confirm and accept the author publishing agreement, which we encourage authors to read and confirm that they agree for that article to be published. If they select yes, they can complete their signature. And once they've completed that, that's the end of the author publishing agreement. So they just get the summary to say they've finished that agreement. And upon the completion of the author publishing agreement, the author receives this email to let them know that the institution will review your request. And that's all the author needs to do at this point in time. The author receives a notification once the institution has made a decision. And after the institution approves the request to use the open access agreement for publishing the article open access, the author will get this confirmation email with the good news to say that the institution has supported their article for open access. The author doesn't have to do anything at this stage, and our production colleagues will publish your article open access, and that's the end of the journey. And that brings me to the end of what I wanted to show you today. The author workflow is very simple and straightforward. And what you need to do is just to follow the guidance and also to make sure to choose the open access publishing option so that your institution can support you if they so wish. Our email address is on screen at the minute. So if there's any specific questions,
สำหรับการใช้งานแพลตฟอร์ม TFO มีคำถามไหมคะทั้งออนไลน์แล้วออนไซต์ถ้า
จริงมีอาจารย์ฝั่งมนุษยศาสตร์I gonna answer it. I gonna ask in English. I think gonna be better. Actually, I have the researcher in the area of social science already. He already submit, using this service. And then I think that got one that checklist look like a charge by Prince of Songkla University on that journal. I think he already did. And then that is easy to check and file. I think that should be okay. But I think that for PSU researcher, if you're going to do that kind of thing, you better to use that VPN, right? Access into the PSU first, and then let that telepharmacist know that you come from that email of the psu.ac.th. Then it's going to be linked to the service, and then this kind of that service fee is going to be deducted by that money we pay, something like that, right? If I misunderstanding, you better to explain me.
Yeah, that's correct. Dr. Muthanachai, thank you very much for adding that on. So for all PSU authors, use your PSU domain email, especially for corresponding orders, okay, when you submit your articles through the submission portal, all right, just as normal. And then you can choose whether you want to publish it open access or not, right? Then it will go into the research dashboard, which we will then approve and accept it, and then it will be published open access. All right, it's very simple. It's still the same, okay? Just that you have an option now, and you're able to publish it open access at no additional cost because of our partnership here. Right? Thank you.
Mean that Francis will recognize the PSU email, and then it will go in like the authorized institution with several publishers. They have an agreement.
Right. That is correct. That is correct. Thank you. Yeah.
It's also included into that hybrid journal as well. So it's mean that PSU researcher, when he or she going to publish into the hybrid journal under that telepharmacist journal, so they can click open access into the hybrid journal either.
Yes.
Yeah, to make sure.
Correct.
Yeah, because of what we talk is another 100 researcher. Yeah, so around 5 campuses listen to us as well. So Yes.
This is correct. So once your paper get accepted, author will receive the email, and then you have an option to choose whether you want to publish it open access. Okay, in all our hybrid journals as well. Okay, great, thank you.
This is the proportion between subscription open access of the journal in Taylor Francis Group.
Right. We have, I think, almost 2,300 titles that are in our hybrid or open select. And then for full goal, it's about 300 to 400 journals. Yeah, so majority are still hybrid journals. Yes, correct. So you have an option to choose. Mhm.
For me, before coming here or today, mostly I will choose for subscription in every option. Try with subscription first, and then it try all the way fighting again to get Q1 or tier 1, and it no way now. Then we go to open access, because for us sometimes, I don't know, I feel that the same word, some publisher, I say the same level of journal. When we go with subscription, it might be a little bit more difficult than the one that publishing with the open access. I don't know why, but I felt like that.
I'm really glad that you made that point, because I want to very politely disagree publicly within this forum, because the reason that Taylor and Francis has almost all of our journals as hybrid open select is that the choice to have the journal article be freely available to the reader is a choice. It doesn't mean any difference to the peer review process and the quality. So those Q1 journals that we publish, many journals, are all the same peer review integrity quality. Otherwise, they wouldn't stay Q1 journals. So the idea that open access makes it like a shortcut, it's maybe less quality, is not the case for a publisher like us. That isn't to say there aren't some open access publishers which will give you an easier route to publication if you're willing to pay. But I think, unfortunately, because of those publishers, it makes open access seem like a lesser quality option. For Taylor and Francis, I want to reassure you, the partnership we have is to allow you to publish quality articles in our Q1, Q2 journals, but it means the reader can open access, can read the article for free. It doesn't mean that you've paid to publish or that there's any shortcut. So I think that's a really important differentiation to make. So I hope that you will look at our hybrids open select journals, because you can still publish without open access in those if you'd like. But if your institution has the option to make as many people to see PSU articles as possible, that is the best way. So try for open access, because your university is allowing you to have that funding option. But if you are very interested in just Q1, make sure that you're submitting to a Q1 journal with a reputable top-class publisher like Taylor & Francis. But I really appreciate you having that conversation, because I think that's a really important point.
I agree with you. When it is open access, what I check a number of years, that it likely to be sized higher than the one that it subscription or limited access, because of the potential reader is wider, and every time when they click, they can get the full text, and they're more happy, because sometimes when we ask for the the writer, for the sometimes even me, when they ask, sometimes we ignore, because many times when you keep sending an article for them, this person and this person, and a month perhaps more than 20, 30, 40, and then you cannot handle that. So, but when open access, it helps, but again, balance between what we have in the pocket and what we pay. But if university has that type of support, then it would be great. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I just want to add that, with our partnership with the library PSU, now all your faculty members, your students, your researchers, you can access to all our, even subscribed journals. And actually, I'm very pleased already over the last 2 months, there were more than 10,000 downloads already from the journal articles and proven that it's really good and effective for everyone. And there's a real need to use and do more research. So I hope that all the PSU users and professors to make best use of it. And, it's unlimited. So make best use of it and, publish more with us as well. And that's what we want to do. And all quality peer review papers. All right. Thank you. And actually it comes to our closing now. Sorry, did you want to say?
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Kanchana, for your informative presentation. Next, we are honored to invite Ms. Lee Pui Lee, Commercial Director, Taylor and Francis, to deliver the closing remarks. Please welcome Ms. Lee Pui Lee.
Thank you. As we come to the conclusion of today's Read and Publish Forum, I want to take this moment to reflect our insightful reports, shared experiences, collective vision that we all explored together. But first and foremost, I'd like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our speakers, Dr. Nguyen, Dr. Opat, Dr. Mutachana, and Dr. Tirapon. Thank you very much. Your expertise and insights has been really providing us a good, deep understanding of the evolving landscape of our scholarly communications. And to all our attendees here in this room today and online as well, we'd like to thank you for your participative participation, your thoughtful questions, your engagement throughout the sessions. And whether you're a librarian, you're a researcher, your role in this ecosystem is vital. And your commitment in advancing knowledge is truly inspiring. I'd like to encourage all of you to take today's insights, ideas, and discussion as a starting point to our many more conversations and actions to drive a meaningful change. And before we close, I'd like to thank, of course, the organizing committee, I think the library, Mr. Suda taking the lead, and your delegation putting this event together. Thank you all again for your time, your insights, and your commitment to this important cause. Let me work together with you, PSU, everyone here online, towards making this a reality. Thank you and have a very good afternoon ahead. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lee Pui. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of today's program. On behalf of Prince of Songkhla University and Taylor and Francis, I would like to thank you all of joining us today, both here at the conference room and online. Before we officially close, we would like to capture this memorable moment together. I would like to cordially invite all of our speakers, honored guests, and all participants to please come forward the front of the stage to the group photo. ขอเชิญทุกท่านร่วมถ่ายรูปรวมด้านหน้านะคะ Okay. Okay, people on the Zoom, can you open the camera to show your face, please? ค่ะก็ใครสะดวกนะคะรบกวนเปิดกล้องนะคะเพื่อเป็นการถ่ายภาพร่วมกันค่ะ Thank you very much.